Y'all know what that music is. And y'all already know what it's about to happen. We diving deep, baby. We don't demonstrate, bitch, we penetrate. I hope y'all got y'all gear, because we going deep today, baby. This is Splash Specialist Dive Instructor. Deeper Dives Dialogue Unlimited for your ass. Shout out to the whole Schwable Room crew and affiliates.
Yes,
like, share, subscribe. We here live for you. Jump in them comments. We gonna jump back and reel it in for you. Church. What's going on?
Man, I can't call it.
Yeah, I ain't trying to. I ain't paying the bill for it either, because it's times is hard nowadays.
Yes, it is. Hyperinflated. Yes, indeed.
Hard emphasis on hyper.
It's hard out here for pimps, simps, wannabes, and anything in between.
Hey, it's hard out here on these hoes too. They ain't even wearing heels no more.
Oh, man. It's a crazy mixed up world.
Ain't it though? Doggy dog.
Doggy dog world.
All day.
Yeah, man. So we got some interesting topics for y'all today. Welcome to Deeper Dives, Dialogue Unlimited podcast. I know it's a mouthful. Every Thursday, we try to bring it to you live. If we don't, we bring it to you recorded, and we give you everything you could want and then some. Like, share, subscribe. Shout out once again to the Schwable Room, 3 p.m. D podcast. Deeper Dives, Dialogue Unlimited, Beyond the Veil. What else we got?
The Dirty 30.
Dirty 30. Can't forget the Dirty 30. The Handsome Beatdown, Left Leg of Goldtron, bringing it all to you.
Yeah, we packing it in. We got that content for you. We a whole channel now. You got a whole bunch to go through. We about to get our own streaming service in a little bit. Believe that. I'm speaking that into existence.
And I'm going to double down with you. Two or three gathered together.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So today we want to talk to you, or talk with you, share with you, talk amongst ourselves, however you look at it. Comment, give us some comments. Definitely want your feedback on these topics today for sure. Very important information. We have a lot of immigration taking place right now because of the current regime's policies and decisions. We try to roll with the punches, man, but it's getting kind of ridiculous with this whole squatters' rights issue that's being raised. Also, we have one of the biggest RICO cases in Georgia history, possibly the biggest, that just came through down the news pipeline a few days ago. We want to talk about with you today. We're going to deal with some census information. Next census isn't until 2030, but applications and documents will be reflecting the changes that will be shown and seen on the next census. So we want to dig into that a little bit for you today as well. So we're going to start off with some want to start off with the census? You want to start off with where you want to go with it?
Honestly, it don't matter. It's gonna all tie in. We got a whole gumbo for you, so just stir it around. You feel me?
All right, cool. Squatters' rights. Let's deal with that. A lot of us are familiar with it through what was labeled at one point in time Posse Comitatus, later called the sovereign citizens movement, which sovereign and citizen, of course, by definition, you're dealing with two different legal definitions that are contradictory to one another. You don't have an individual sovereign. It would have to be a nation, and that will tie into another story that we're going to get into. Didn't forget about it, but just wanted to tie it in this way. And that is the tribal nations and their jurisdiction, dealing with certain individuals or groups of people, classified in some instances as freedmen. Uh, of course, this goes back into uh, slavery, the slavery times or slave trades, various types and sorts, even within, the borders of the U.S. So we're going to tap into that. But yeah, man, crazy, 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 crazy stories coming out of various states of people being arrested for booting people out of their property or their homes that they live in, um, when they come back to find someone staying there claiming squatters' rights. Are you familiar with this type of scenario, my brother?
I've never seen it or witnessed it, but yeah, I've definitely heard it. And to me, it's to me, it just sounds like reverse gentrification.
Mm, interesting.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how
Hmm.
you gonna get arrested for kicking somebody out your shit? Logic,
Insane.
please.
Insane. It sounds insane, doesn't it? But it's
I'm
happening.
gonna, I'm gonna. No, it sound like it sounds like something great poet by the name of KRS-One, when he said there's no justice on stolen land.
Hmm.
So I mean, what does that basically remind you of?
It reminds me of the Homestead Act.
Okay, there you have it. Home instead. Stead at home.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, dude, you gonna stake your claim on somebody else's shit. But then when they come for it, they get in trouble for it. There's no logic in that.
Well, I would agree with you on face value. But there is logic behind it, and that is to replace possibly the people who have already claimed that land or has claimed to that land either by birthright, naturalization, or family. What's the word I'm looking for? Family estate that's been passed down. Um, so
Yeah, I feel you on that, but here's my thing is do they have proof of any of this?
that is a great question.
Because I mean, if you have proof of any of this, then okay, cool. But I mean, shoot, before AI, they've been making fake documents since how long ago, bruh? You can go make a fake document, anything.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah, I mean, I've heard things with people using quick claim deeds that they, go in and make their own, pretty much using, the images or templates of government documents. And sometimes there's a very poor vetting process that does or doesn't take place, in which those individuals pull a fast one. And until someone who with a legit claim actually brings up the issue or the matter, uh, you have somebody basically imitating a landowner, imitating a landlord, or a person who's rightfully domiciling or residing in a place.
Bruh, I just thought about something. There could also be a case of the person whose land it was being conned out of that shit.
A lot of that took place early on with immigration in this country, right?
I'm talking about like as of like recently, like check this scenario. I was watching this show not too long ago, and this doesn't have to do with the whole squatters' rights thing, but the scenario. It was a lady. Matter of fact, the shit happened here, bruh. She was conning like older people out of like money for like property and home. One of them was she conned this dude out of a crib. She conned him out of a crib, out money for a spot. You know what I'm saying? They
Mm.
caught her and she got arrested for it. But I mean, same case scenario, bro. I mean, she had this one old lady on video. She conned her out of a freaking Yukon Denali, bro. She conned her into buying her one, son.
Wow.
She had everything on like tape, like her like buying the shit, her giving her the keys to it and saying that like, oh yeah, I'm buying this for her. But then like later on in court, the lady was like, yeah, that's not really why I did that. And I was tricked into this. You know what I'm saying? And they took the old lady's side. So broad duped her. So I mean that could be a case too. But back to what we were saying, like, yeah, I mean, you could make up fake documents and all that stuff for all.
Yeah. This is so interesting. You know, one of the YouTube content creators that I respect and admire, and at times, follow his information as closely as when I have time to really tune in and tap in, is a brother by the name of Dane Calloway. I want to shout out Dane Calloway. We've never met,
Word.
don't know the brother yet. Speaking that into existence that we will meet and be able to politic and speak, on a social level and on a knowledge level. Brother's very knowledgeable, very astute in his research, and I just want to shout him out, big him up. He and his wife Tanisha Calloway. Awesome,
Indeed,
awesome
indeed.
channel. I'm just here to make you think. Check that channel out when y'all get a chance. They deal with a lot of these issues and disinformation that has been, you know, poorly covered by others and sometimes misinforming the public. So they correct a lot of those claims that are false, and they deal with a lot of these topics with just naturally within the flow of their historical information that they teach to the people. So one of the topics here kind of ties in to what we're talking about with this squatters' rights is adverse possession. Are you familiar with that concept at all? Lightweight or otherwise?
Yeah.
Cool. So just for the audience, a adverse possession deals with a party claiming land by adverse possession. They must prove that their predecessors had exclusive, continuous possession of the disputed land for at least 21 years, and that the possession was open, notorious, and adverse to the legal title holder. So, there's different rules in different states that pertain to this subject matter. In Ohio, it's 21 years before a title is conferred to the trespasser. So, that's like an extremely long period of time to be squatting in a place without any actual legal right to claim over it.
But Louisiana and I think it's Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken, got the longest for 30 years.
Okay.
Cali and Montana, 5, bruh. 5 years.
What is it in Michigan? Because I know people who are telling me that they were seeing people go in and just take over the bandos.
Let me check.
Yeah, they were taking over the bandos and refurbishing, remodeling, restoring.
Yes. A lot of states is like 10 years. A lot of states is like but let's just check. Michigan 15.
I thought it okay, 15 years.
Yeah, Michigan is 15. No, I'm sorry. That the longest is not Arkansas. It's Louisiana and New Jersey for 30 years.
30 years, okay.
Yeah, but a lot of the majority of the states, from the looks of it, it's like 7 and 10 years, bruh.
So now these people are coming over here and instantly laying claim. And, to the point where in Texas, the governor allegedly, because I haven't really been able to dig into the information. Let me see. I might be able to pull something up. But in the meantime, I'll just say this comment that there was a case where a woman went away on vacation. She is a business owner. She comes back and there are immigrants in her home. She calls the authorities to have them removed, and they remove her and arrest her. And so, as I was told, once again, this is hearsay until I can confirm it, that the governor um, then put in uh, motion them changing the gun rights laws to where you don't have to have a license to carry certain weapons. Uh, I know Texas is already an open carry state when it comes to firearms, but he was saying also, in addition to that, you couldn't be prosecuted even if using lethal force to defend your property. Now, I don't know that to be a fact. Do you know anything about that, or have you heard anything about that?
Bruh. Listen, from what I understand, in Texas, you can, as long as it's holstered, you can have your gun showing on your property. As long as you're on your property, like you can have it holstered sticking out with no problem. Hell, as long as you know the verbiage, you can walk around in Walmart with your gun showing in its holster in Walmart. Because I've seen it done before. Hell, I've done it. But as long as you know the verbiage, as long as you know the verbiage and the verbiage is correct, yeah, you can do it, no problem. If you've taken like the safety classes and everything is done properly, yeah.
All right. So yeah, I've located some of that information here.
And normally I don't do that. I just forgot to put it up and forgot I had it on me.
Gotcha. So Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a fierce warning this week for squatters in the state. Let me see when this article was. Yeah, so April, this was yesterday. Wow. Anyone squatting in your home is breaking the law, Abbott wrote in a post on X, formerly Twitter. They are criminals violating Texas laws like criminal trespass and criminal mischief, Texas Penal Code 30.05 and 28.03.
Yep, that's called 30-5.
There you have it. The castle doctrine, of course, we're probably all familiar somewhat. Cases extending all across the country, including places like Indiana, where they've modified certain laws that would shock the hell out of you, once you become informed of them, for, the rights of the citizens, as opposed to just law enforcement and, agencies of that nature. So, yeah, it says empowers Texans to use force to defend themselves and their property, he added. His post comes amid a growing conversation surrounding squatters' rights compared to the rights of property owners throughout the United States. In recent weeks, several states have seen incidents involving homeowners' attempts to remove squatters from their property. The American Apartment Owners Association defines a squatter as an individual who inhabits a piece of land or property despite having no legal authority to do so. A squatter lives in a building or on the property without paying rent and without lawful documentation stating that they own the property. Yeah, so, yeah, this has been going on also in Texas. I'm sorry, in Florida. Also. New
And
York.
that's 7 years in Florida, but they said come July they're going to change that. So I don't know if they're going to change that and upping the years or lowering it?
So, what do you think that great attention to this in the wake of the midst of an immigration crisis, a border crisis, as some are calling it, um, the busing of illegal immigrants into major cities and even secondary or smaller towns and cities, um, and then giving them the game on adverse possession is what we're actually really talking about, even though it would technically have to be under some other heading after what you've shared, as far as like the actual amount of time um, before a person would receive actual title of ownership for saying that a place is theirs and they've lived consecutively without being removed.
Well, see, here's the catch with that. It's not just living there a consecutive amount of time. You
Right.
have to live there, and the taxes on that property has to be paid
Yes.
in that amount of time. So now,
What
here's where it could get a little dicey, and this is just my opinion. Okay, so you say that we do have a bunch of I don't want to call them refugees or anything, but we do have a bunch of displaced citizens, not
illegal.
displaced displaced people coming from other countries. Now, there's also been rumors that we've had displaced people from China
Hmm.
coming up
Right.
through the same route.
Hmm.
We have displaced people coming from the Ukraine coming in, right?
Hmm.
Okay, now there are many different hues of people coming in.
Hmm.
Now, with all this game and all this access and everything that has been given to everybody, with this knowledge, and let's just say that all the different hues soak up this game and utilize it.
That's what I'm saying.
In the wake of this happening,
Hmm.
who you think is gonna really get popped for all doing all this?
That's what I was asking you. Like, where do you think this is act? What's the end game of this? Because you've got gun laws changing. You've got, uh, let's say, for all intents and purposes, real estate laws changing. And really, it's not real estate. Let me be more correct. You have, yeah, you have people basically taking up residence where they haven't paid anything. There's been no transaction. And then the people who have had the perception, let me use that word strongly, the perception that a place was theirs, or that they have claim to a place or a certain land. And then all of a sudden, people who, to our knowledge, have no right to claim are being told you have the green light. I mean, if people go back to the Homestead Act and just, overall, Andrew Jackson did as president with the Indian Removal Act, the Homestead Act, what
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther King talked about when in his last interview, talking about, undergirding an economic floor for the peasants of Europe. Now we're looking at the I won't use that term, I guess, pertaining to them, but displaced individuals of various nations and continents
Mm-hmm.
simultaneously being ushered into the cities that grant them sanctuary, and states that have agreed to garner support for sanctuary cities and territories within their territory.
Mm-hmm. What
I
do I
mean,
think is gonna happen?
mhm,
Okay, just being honest with you. All right, let's look at it like this. With the exception of the Ukraine, because I really don't like know of any like Ukrainian spots or anything. or like neighborhoods or anything like that. But with the exception of the Ukraine, the other places have access to weapons. They got access to other type of things that can combat with whatever it is that the laws here are putting into place. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying it to be negative in any way, shape, or form. I'm just stating facts. Because I mean, you have to think, as of right now, they're kind of saying that our country is kind of at odds with China as of right now. And
That's been the case, you know what I mean, for years. But at
okay,
the
so
same time, what about the debts that are owed to these various nations due to the destruction caused by either U.S. actions or policies, militarily or commercially?
okay, you have that too, and I'm about to go into that.
All
So
right.
with all that being taken into thought and being at play here, if anything were to happen and these displaced individuals defended themselves and God forbid were to come out victorious in any of these confrontations, 9 times out of 10, they probably came over here with some money or have access to some money. They would probably just either go back to their home country or get arrested, be in a camp for a while, and get deported.
You think that they would actually put them in the camp and deport them, or would they just move them to another location within the U.S.? Because I think that's what's actually happening, especially with the laws changing about uh, what is it? Trying to think. What is it? When they detain a person for a certain period of time, but they don't actually incarcerate them, and then they release them, even if they're guilty. I don't want to say guilty, but even if they're being charged or investigated for, so let's
What,
say, homicide.
extradite them?
I mean, not even extradite, because once again, we're dealing with a displaced individual, who was considered by some illegal alien or an illegal uh, immigrant. Like they don't have a
So
right
you
to.
talking about like put them in a camp somewhere?
No, what I'm talking about is the outcome of what we were discussing would likely end up
Right.
in them simply being moved to another state that doesn't necessarily have the update on what that person did. And I think this is what
I
Trump
mean
and certain
that
other.
could be the case, but I mean, from what I understand, and don't quote me on this because I'm not sure, but I'm hearing there's still a bunch of displaced individuals in a camp down at the border right now.
Well, sure, at the border, but that's where they're processing, and that's where they, I think, don't quote me on this because this is just opinion and conjecture. They're processing people to places where they think that they would be most useful. And then there's a whole other conspiracy theory behind this that we can or cannot go into. Really doesn't matter to me. I'm down with, because it's not my theory and it's not something that I want to push, but it is something I think is worth considering. That these people are mostly of military age. Um, who knows what their background is? Meaning whether or not they were soldiers in prior corporations, military industrial complex, that are here to be disruptors to a political process that's already heavily challenged due to actions of people of our own um, citizenry, so to speak. January 6th, for example. Um, There are people actually raising funds for those individuals, saying that they're under poor conditions where they're being held and awaiting trial. And I can neither confirm nor deny, the uh, uh, veritas or the truthfulness of those statements. But this is what's going on all at the same time, and it's super interesting and super exciting and scary at the same time for some of us, because we could be looking at a takeover. And I want to be careful how I say that, because I want people to be able to consider and hear the information before it would be struck down or taken off of any platform. So I'm going to err on the side of caution, but still get the message out, is that there are people that believe that there is an ensuing civil war, or impending civil war, and that it will soon ensue due to the provocation of the vagueness of the understanding of these policies that are being pushed to portions of the population. You see what I'm saying?
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Definitely.
Indeed. So some say, well, there be fools to believe that people who wouldn't fight to stay where they were and make it a better place would come here and fight for their agendas. But who knows what a person would do when their back's against the wall and they've already lived in worse conditions all of their life, as opposed to looking at it that they wouldn't fight. It's like when you're already in a draconian society where if you break any of the rules, there's severe penalty and punishment, and it's going to be imminent. Somebody's going to tell on you out of fear. It ain't even like, they want to cooperate. It's just they know that if they catch you, that the whole family or neighborhood or whatever is going to get punished.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very interesting, and it's odd because of the things that we've been through, not just saying our people, but as Americans, the things that most Americans have been through. We want to always err on the side of caution, not to sound prejudiced, racist. You know what I'm saying? Anti this, anti that. But the truth is the truth. Like, why in the world, when the people did not, in some places, vote this into being the circumstance? I mean, honestly, do you think 87% of people would have voted for the current regime if they knew that they were going to flood their cities with displaced people who have not an established work history, track record of behavior, or understanding of the laws into their cities? You know what I'm saying? And most people most affected, of course, would be what they consider minority groups who already pre-existed in these areas, not just for the competition's sake, but now you're saying that they can take up residence in your home or on your property, and you can't have them removed. What is the point of ownership at this point? And there are other conspiracies that tie into a leftist, I'll just put it that way, agenda of a draconian society where the people own nothing and are happy about it. Well, you look at it, most of us don't own anything, because if you're still paying taxes on it, you haven't purchased it. And if there's no end to that taxation, no longer how long you have possession of a place or a thing, you never actually really own it.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see an extreme mind game being played here.
Oh, no doubt. But to play devil's advocate really quick on this.
Okay.
Really quick.
And
Now,
it'd have to be the devil's advocate. No, go ahead. But go ahead.
no, I mean, you were just saying the whole part of putting these misplaced individuals in, let's just say, an urban setting
Hmm.
to where all this squatting would be taking place, right?
Hmm.
Something good could come out of that.
Slavery?
Nah, it would stop gentrification.
Would it?
I mean, if think about it, if you basically are, if you can, if you get arrested for somebody sitting in your shit, then you really can't come and build nothing on it. If they think about it, the only people that are really getting away with this stuff is people that actually know the laws of it. People who don't really know the laws of it can't really break that law or bend that law. It's kind of like what the government's doing.
Okay, gotcha. So here's my retort to the devil's advocacy. Uh, None of us plan on being arrested, and even if we were, we'd be taken to a regular institution, to our knowledge, and not a camp where we would share the company of certain displaced groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have no idea that if their camps are similar to our camps, or if they're being educated as to what the laws are and how they can push certain instances to the farthest extreme of that law or that understanding of law. Because oftentimes when you deal with law, it's conceptual and it's based upon interpretation, right? Oftentimes, and even in these domestic and civil cases and in criminal cases, it's not truth that they're after, it's the presentation of their argument on their basis of law or their understanding of law that could be shared, right, or manipulated. And it's just interesting. It was already one issue when you have people that can come over and reap benefits that would otherwise have been set aside for minority groups or special interest groups within the citizenry of this corporation already. So they can come without paying taxes for a certain amount of years. They can send money back to their home country, which would enrich their family in a country where the exchange rate of currency is the U.S. dollar is higher than their own currency. So they would
Mm-hmm.
amass wealth faster, and they could afford to go back and forth and bring individuals and certain small groups of family a little at a time, right? But now you have a mass influx and and possibility, allegedly, of them educating a great portion of that new population on how to take what already belongs to the people who are here. Not unlike the Homestead Act, not unlike remember the gold rush, reading about the gold rush era in school.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, so when you could plant a flag and and from whatever distance to whatever distance you planted those flags, that was now your land.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there was no banks involved, and yes, somebody could come and shoot you dead, bury you on that land, and take over it. But we're essentially looking at the same thing, in my opinion, and basically interpreting what I see, read, and hear from actual people, and not just machine produced, sources. Um, so yeah, I understand what you're saying. There could be a good thing, but this looks like the recalibration of slavery
No,
and
I feel
and the
you on that.
grabbing of naturalized and indigenous people's land.
Oh, no doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if strategized right, there could be a stop. There could possibly be a stop to it. And you probably like, fool, how?
No, not fool how. I'm just
Wondering how?
mhm.
Bruh. You probably gonna be like, boy, you wild. But remember the movie Harlem Nights?
Mhm. Yep.
What was the downfall of the Calhouns?
Hmm. The Calhouns. Talking about Sugar Ray, right? And
Yeah,
Quick.
the downfall of Mr. Calhoun.
Trust. Trusting the wrong
N-
people. No, wait,
Not
wait.
not just trust, but what was the downfall of him? Okay, not just the downfall. How did he lose all of that money betting on that fight and the drops for the money? When he entrusted Richie to take that money and make all the drops. Sunshine.
Okay. So wait. Are you saying that the melanated woman is the key in this somewhere?
I'm not saying she's the key, but I mean, she could turn the lock. And I'm not saying just the melanated woman. I mean, shoot.
Okay.
Bruh, let me just land the plane. Back in the day, I used to watch a whole lot of pimp documentaries.
Mhm.
Whole lot of them. Overloaded on them shits.
Mhm.
Don't ask me why. I was fascinated with that shit. But in the story of an American pimp over in Hawaii,
Mhm.
it would be loads of dudes from China that would just fly over to Hawaii to get girls.
Mhm.
That was the downfall. You get a few women to sweet talk these dudes. Just sell them some company. Talk to them. Give up information.
Okay. That's an interesting angle. It's an interesting angle. I
I'm
get
not saying that that's the only way or anything, or that's the way that it's gonna happen. But I mean, dude,
yeah. Yeah. Okay. I got you. I got you.
that's a down. Listen, I'm not saying that a woman is the downfall, but
Well, no, they're the key. They are the key to the building up of or destruction of a society.
but you, dudes is that stupid. I'm not even trying to. Facts are facts. Some dudes are just that stupid.
Well, hey, one way to look at it is the passport bros don't have far to go any longer.
There's that too.
But I mean, a lot of the displaced people are families, intact families, which is interesting. And women who are already with child or are parents with babies or small young children, because the vouchers are including like Pampers and formula and things like that in places like New York. You know, they have a $53 million budget plan that they've doled out, where they have debit cards and these vouchers, and they're receiving more benefits than the people who have been here all their lives and several generations that have to be on assistance or have chosen, to take assistance temporarily, probably until they can graduate to something on their own. But I don't know, man. It's interesting way.
Bruh,
Interesting.
this could be a whole other episode on scamming, bruh. Facts.
Speaking of which, we got a Shooter King clip. I just want to share this. This brother is hilarious, but
Yeah.
he's not joking on part of this. And we have no rights that we claim to this. We didn't create this. This is available on YouTube. And this is the Shooter King. I just wanted to let our audience see our reaction and hear our reaction to his coverage of this occurrence, this event in the news. But yeah, here's Shooter King.
Ladies and gentlemen, I saw this thing here, man, and this was always a law that always pissed me off. Where a lady got arrested for changing the locks on her house to keep the squatters out. Now I understand that there's laws to protect squatters' rights and all that. If you ask me, I don't know who the hell came up with them laws. Squatters ain't got no damn rights. You ain't got no right. You trespass on somebody else's house and you call yourself living there. No, that's somebody else's damn house.
I'm just trying to find a lie.
I mean, I'm with him, but there are laws, which is, I don't want to say overall, yeah, it's messed up because this all ties into a mindset. You remember when Trump caught flack for saying shithole countries in reference to bringing displaced people or people who would like to relocate, let's put it that way, to the United States. Number one, this is stolen land. They can say treaty, but when someone has decimated more than half of your population and they're all your family, you have the genealogical records, whether they've been in Bibles or in family diaries or whatever, journals. Aunt Susie keeps the records, before we talking about before birth certificates and all of that. And then even at the introduction of the birth certificate and documents like that for the proof of live birth, a live life, etc. Man, come on. You come over into a land and then you create policies under the guise of law to justify snatching the indigenous people's land. You come in and make rules and tell them how they can live and can't live in their house. Now, all I'm saying is that there are things written in every territory under this corporate jurisdiction called the United States that if a person follows, like we were discussing earlier, just a little while ago, they can temporarily, if not permanently, take up residence in someone else's quote unquote property. So while I feel him and I agree with his thoughts, this is an issue that has gone unaddressed and now is coming back to bite a lot of us in the behind. I just wanted to point that out. And I'm going to let Shooter King go on a little further. Once again, this is the Shooter King, his comedian Shooter King channel, YouTube. Check it out. It's a really talented brother, really funny guy. And he also deals with real deal stuff that is happening and how he just highlights the ridiculousness of it.
1 minute, y'all love to say, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Do this, do that, do that. No. How the hell are you going to say that and then turn around and make a law to protect somebody for breaking in somebody else's stuff and living in their house like it's theirs? That hell no. Hell no. Ain't no damn squat or nothing. You better be lucky you didn't come up in my damn house. Your ass would have got shot. I'm just telling you now. Wouldn't have been no arresting me for changing no lock. You'd have been arrested me because there'd have been 2-3 unalive people in the damn house. I'm telling you the truth. If you break in one of my houses and you find out it's mine, the best thing is you don't want. Talking about you want to live there, it's gonna be the last place you at. I tell you now, I'm saying it on the internet. Don't play. Do not do that.
Bruh. That's real. It don't get no more real than that.
You said you breaking and you find out it's mine. That's the part right there.
Yeah.
That part right there.
You might want to check whose place you adversely trying to take possession of. Because some people play by the rules that they're told. Some people dig up the rules for themselves and know how to maneuver. And others don't give a damn about the rules. They're going to go off of the face value that you took it lightly, that they was going to play with you. And they ain't playing with you.
Or you could have that scenario to where, yeah, the house might look like it's empty, but you got some of their people that stay really close to that house and keep an eye on it from not too far away.
Indeed.
And they don't play about that either.
Don't play about that, and don't got nothing to lose.
Exactly.
They itching to take out any form of aggression possible on who or whatever for doing some quote unquote fuck shit like that.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to share no more of the clip. I don't want to run into any copyright, but I just wanted to, big ups to Schuler King, because he's been doing this a good while and he's great at it. And he can make you laugh and get mad at the same time. And that takes a great deal of talent. So big ups to him. Let's segue. Wow. While all this is happening, one of the biggest issues we've had in recent years especially is the crime within the institutions where people are paying their penance for the crimes they've already committed. And that is the prison system. I just wanted to share and touch on this just a little bit, being that for a while, my background occupationally was within the criminal justice system, or the Department of Corrections. And I saw a lot of corrupt things while I was there, and I saw certain investigations play out, but nothing on as grand a scale as this Georgia case recently here. Let's see, 150 arrested for allegedly using drones to transport drugs, guns, cell phones into Georgia prisons. Now, where I'm located, we had drones going over top of these huge fences, and then they had nets. You got to understand, on the outside of these fences. And you had officers that were required 3 times a day to do a sweep of the yard, which is where they walk along the fence line and they do perimeter checks and they tap on certain zones so that the command tower can register that the sensors in those areas are working, so that they could detect any type of threat or approaching outside influence, including people like trying to get things over the fence for the inmates. Contraband, is of course what they refer to it as, and various forms of contraband, from drugs to pornography to weapons to components that can be used when put together to create substances or weaponry. Bro, they're saying this. Let me just share this briefly. We're not going to stick a whole long time on this one.
This shit crazy.
But it is. So they got drones, cell phones, weapons, and drugs. And people say, why don't they just shoot down the drones? Well, you're not allowed to fire a firearm from within an institution unless you have a direct line of sight or direct line of fire. And once they reach a certain altitude, for example, if they're already on a fence, you can't fire at them from within because you could miss and hit a house. Let's just be real, or a moving car along the highways or byways that are um, not that far a distance from the institutions. Um, but wow, it says after a months long probe into an alleged drone based contraband operation in Georgia's prisons, it has led to the arrest of 150 people, including 8 correction officers, officials said. The investigation, dubbed Operation Skyhawk, uncovered that drones were being used to move cell phones, drugs, and weapons into Georgia Department of Corrections facilities, according to the governor's office. And a lot of people they may not even be aware of this or even ever have it cross their mind. But with a drone, you fly over, you drop that thing, whatever it is, you drop whatever it is you're trying to smuggle in by a certain section of the yard, and the inmates get to come out on the yard depending on the level of security of the institution, multiple times a day. And there's like a lockdown period is really where there's no movement in between meals. Okay. So there's a lot of opportunity for the officers to be distracted or needed in other zones. For instance, there can even be diversions caused by inmates that are structured and planned when they study your time schedule, because all they have is time on their hands. That's not an insult. This is just a fact. After having worked on the inside of one, you see them seeing you. You study them studying you. And some of them can run down to you everything that goes on because they've moved from housing unit to housing unit. They have every vantage point covered. They can tell you where every camera is. Now, there's 8 officers that took a fall for this, being involved in this, not for the entire thing, but for being parties or involved with this. And wow. So search and arrest warrants. And of course, there's always people on the outside that are being coordinated into these operations as well. So search and arrest warrants were served at 2 locations in the metro Atlanta area on Thursday as a part of the investigation, effectively shutting down a sophisticated multi-state criminal enterprise that included civilians, inmates, and staff. The governor's office has said in a press release. Among 150 suspects arrested were 8 Georgia Department of Corrections employees who were immediately terminated, the state said. So, sorry, employees. They didn't say they were all officers. Let me correct that. The more than 1,000 total charges in the case stem from contraband introduction, drug trafficking, and felons in possession of firearms, the governor's office has said. Many of those arrested also may face charges under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations, or RICO Act, and gang charges in what could be the largest gang RICO case in Georgia's history. This is ABC News website. If you want to read more about it, I'm sure you could find it on more than just that news source. But yeah, man, this is a big issue because you have people who are supposed to be being rehabilitated or corrected, not just punished. But you have the same operations going on in the institutions as are going out on the streets. And so that produces a even higher recidivism rate, which means the propensity for a former offender to repeat offend. Lives being ruined, lives being taken, just corruption on all levels. And man, yeah, look more into that, read about that.
Man, I just want to know, from the way it's sounding, this got to be in an actual prison, like not a county joint.
Yeah. But they said multi-state. So there could be state level, federal. Well, if it was federal, it would be it is federal, RICO. But it could be city jails within this probe, within this investigation, within that operation?
Because I'm also wondering if if this involves that dude that we covered back on the 3 p.m.D. podcast, who was running that stuff with that cell phone.
Wasn't he in Florida?
Oh, it was in Georgia.
He was in Georgia.
He was in Georgia.
I'm trying to remember. I couldn't remember if he
No,
was in
yeah, he was
Georgia or
in
if he was in.
he was in Georgia.
Oh yeah, the other dude that was buying cars and all of that. He was in Florida.
He might have been in Georgia as well. He was from Philly, but I think he might have been in Georgia when all that went down, I think.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure about him, but I know the dude with the phone was in Georgia.
Okay.
And the reason
I think
why
that's the same guy.
the reason why I'm asking if it was like a county jail or like a actual prison is because reading Gucci Mane autobiography. I mean, I'm not trying to like make an example out the brother, but from what he was saying, out of all the jails that he'd have been transported to, and all the overcrowding and all that stuff that was going on in some of those facilities, it might have been easy to do this operation because of how overcrowded some of them spots were. Just for that sole purpose. Said like some of them spots wasn't even designed to hold as many people as what they had in there.
Well, it says Georgia Department of Corrections, so we're talking about on the prison level mostly.
Probably all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it could include county jails because that's usually where people are picked up, and that's usually where they're housed until their trials are over and their charges and their sentences issued.
But the reason why I'm thinking like more like an actual prison system is why would you need a gun in the county? But then again, too, like he was saying in his autobiography, like people be held over in them joints for a long time waiting trial and stuff too. So, but yet and still, they trading that stuff for money and all that as well. So you never know. I ain't trying to find out. So I ain't trying to get arrested to find out. You feel me?
Neither am I, indeed. Yes. So, read all about that. That what we covered is from the ABC News website, just so that we can tackle everything that we promised you today. U.S. Census. Let me share this. Changing America. Okay. U.S. Census changes and how it categorizes people by race and ethnicity. At a glance, the census will include checkboxes for Hispanic or Latino and Middle Eastern or North African starting in 2030. Now, I thought these categories were already on the prior census, but I don't check mark any of those. So
after further reading it, this was some fuck shit, man.
Thank you.
For real.
You want to read this this next one, or do you have it pulled up, or can you see it on this?
All right. So changes will apply to all federal collection of demographic data within 5 years. The 2030 U.S. Census will include new race and ethnicity checkboxes for Hispanic people and people of Middle Eastern and North African descent. The Office of Management and Budget announced Thursday a major change in how the government tracks demographics. The change is first to race and ethnicity categories in 27 years and comes after years of criticism that major racial and ethnic groups are left out of demographic collection. I knew it was like that, but the revisions change how the census will ask questions about race and ethnicity, combining previously separate questions about race and ethnicity into one, including a new individual category for Middle Eastern and North African people. Thanks to the hard work of staff across dozens of federal agencies and input from thousands of members of the public, these updated standards will help create more useful, accurate, and up-to-date federal data on race and ethnicity. U.S. Chief Statistician Karen Orvis said in a statement, "These revisions will enhance our ability to compare information and data across federal agencies and also to understand how well federal programs serve a diverse America." That's wild.
Demographic categories for the next census will include American Indian or Alaska Native, Asian, Black, or African American. I don't suggest that y'all check that one. Hispanic or Latino, Middle Eastern or North African, Peace Moabites, little inside joke for my Moorish friends, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, and white, the OMB announced. In previous census, most of the Middle Eastern background were listed under white category, and Hispanic people were considered an ethnicity separate from race. People of North African descent did not have a clear individual category.
That's wild.
See the games they play?
That's wild.
So certain people, they've been allowed to float based upon their ethnicity and or perceived race based upon their geographic location of origin. Run that back when you get a chance and then look into what I'm saying in the way I'm saying it. All federal demographic collection will reflect the new standards within 5 years at most, the OMB said, and with changes being rolled out to government departments starting Thursday. So that goes into the documentation that I told you, applications, et cetera, et cetera. Your thoughts?
I ain't checking shit till I get log cabin light complected on my census. Fuck that.
Man, listen, that he said, "Oh wow, listen, man, this is definitely the foolery. It's and just tying into this whole immigration thing. They're telling you
just in time.
They're telling you who is going to be the new white, and white is a legal status. So if your complexion is pale, like buttermilk or milk or alabaster, plaster." Listen, don't be offended. I am not derogatorily referring to you. I'm simply stating that white is a social status, always has been. It's a legal status, always has been, always. Well, I can't say always will be, but will be until it's revisited and revised or changed at some point. So these other categories, they're letting you know within that story, there were people that were pretty much given white status, regardless of their race or ethnicity. But you can't be black and white at the same time. And mixed race doesn't make you black and white. Mixed race doesn't mean that at all legally. Look it up. So you still think that you're black? You still think that you're white? You might want to check into these new classifications and understand what's really going on with these groups of displaced people in sanctuary cities and otherwise. Man. So we were going to go into some other topic, but I'm just giving it an honorable mention. How about that? apparently Cherokee Tribal Nation is filing or petitioning for what was it, to ascertain jurisdiction over the freedmen, the Cherokee
Mhm.
freedmen. So in order for them to have that jurisdiction over the Cherokee freedmen, they would have to have proof of blood quantum, interestingly enough, to be considered members of the tribe in order for the tribal nation and its courts to have jurisdiction over them. So look into that, because that's a big deal, believe it or not. A lot of us were told we had Cherokee blood, right? And I'm saying in a lot of instances that may or may not have been true. And whether they were or were not on the Dawes roll or the Kelly roll or the other major Indian registration roll, these tribal nations are essentially clubs now. And if you look into even their headquarters, they're not, some of them, even on U.S. soil. There are people over in the British Isles collecting checks for a tribe that your great grandfather and grandmother may or may not have been a member of, share blood quantum with, or may have been enslaved by the Cherokee Nation. And not just the Cherokee Nation, but any one of the 5 civilized tribes. So a person like myself, definitely doing the genealogical history journey through documentation. Blood quantum, by the way, doesn't mean an African ancestry DNA test. No shots meant to be fired, but if some offense is taken, then oh well. Entertainment value only. It's posted on.
Nah, because on some realness, with all this coming into play, and I legit think it's only going to get bigger, because I mean, just like you said, there's a lot of people that say, "Oh yeah, I have Cherokee blood in me, or I have such and such tribe blood in me." With all this building up and coming more into the forefront now, this is the question: do you think that this will be like people saying the whole like, now I'm Afro Cherokee, like they do with the Afro Latina type thing? I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's a valid question, but I think you may have misunderstood what I was saying. These DNA ethnicity tests are only 0.03% accurate. Those who take issue
I'm
with
not
that.
asking as far as like
Yeah.
what I'm talking about from when I read the whole article with
Uh-huh.
everything that they were talking about. That's why I'm asking.
Right. No, I'm getting to a point of that.
Okay.
Those tests wouldn't be admissible currently in a court of law. And because they have gathered everyone's DNA, there have been certain ethnic groups, even within tribal nations, that they have swapped out the DNA, believe it or not. So if you know that you are a specific tribal group, in some instances, when you get it tested, it's automatically going to tell you that your people are from a certain part of Europe or a certain part of Africa. Because here's quite as it's kept on paper, what you could find out, those people intermarried with those other people that they're going to tell you that you descend from. So what they're
Right.
not telling you is that these were immigrants or slaves or indentures that came over and married in, or freemen, not freedmen, but freemen, people who were free origin. They didn't come under contract. They came of their own finance and they set up shop here and they were allowed citizenship, but they married into certain tribal groups, okay, intentionally, in some instances, and in other instances for love and all the other reasons people hook up. But to answer your question, I think is that they're trying to put that to bed. And if you're going to be under that, I mean, think about this. You want to claim blood quantum to a people who may have enslaved your people. And this is no slight to Cherokee Nation or any other tribal nation who participated in the slave trade, because essentially, like I said, these nations on paper have become like clubs. And I don't say that to cast aspersion on the characterization of different groups of people, okay, especially people that I have bloodline connections to in a tribal sense. But how do you require to prove blood quantum when you have people who've been on these roles when there was no ability to prove blood quantum other than if you knew who your grandmother or mother, mother and father and their mother and father and so on and so forth were, right? You get what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
just like when these people, they're so excited. Oh, I got my blood test results, or my not blood test results, my DNA results. You spit in a cup and they told you that you were from this tribe, or this ethnicity in the Middle East, Africa, whatever. Great for you. That just tells you who you're currently related to. Unless you're going to exhume bodies of ancestors that you believe to be yours, which is probably not strong enough grounds to even justify an action like that, even if you had the finance, right? Nobody's digging up deceased ancestors to check that DNA. That's what I'm saying. So we're going to get into a whole can of worms if it's really fully not investigated. What's the word? If it's fully discussed properly, and the reality of these things are properly introduced. We're going to find out people that been saying they were Indian for the last 100 years aren't Indian. We're going to find out people who've been told that they're not Indian by DNA and told by their family that they are Indian by family record are actually Indian. In the meantime, check out Dan Calloway, because not just you, but I'm saying the audience.
That's why I was asking that, because I wanted to get his information on this whole thing. I want to get his insight.
He showed a clip of these people in Arizona that look like they're from Eastern Europe, talking about squatters' rights, talking about being de jure, which means of the land. So the de jure, there's an argument that some of the Moorish groups present that they're the de jure of the land. Well, if you're saying that you're from North Africa now, you might as well wait to the 2030 census to go on ahead and claim that, if you can prove that you're of the Tuareg, Amazigh, or Berber tribes. Okay, because there's indigenous people from all over the planet. But here in America, which has become a melting pot and a corporation, just like all the other nations now, your blood quantum would have to come from proof of who you are descended from, because they don't have the developed DNA to tell you whether you are or you're not. They can tell you where certain strands of DNA came from up to a certain accuracy and percentage, and it's very small. So they can tell you who you're related to, who your cousins are on your mother or father's side. But to tell you who you came from, it would have to go back, some generations of grandparency, and usually on the maternal side of your father or your mother. Not to hope I don't confuse anyone. So it's going to go back on those women from each branch, and that's going to multiply as you go back each generation. So sorry, I know that wasn't exactly your question, but like Dane, he showed a clip of these people talking about they were de jure. The woman was claiming that she was a de jure sheriff, and that the sheriffs that were there in that county were corporate employees. And it just sounded like some of our Moorish brothers and sisters, and I'm not knocking them or making light or saying they have no grounds for their arguments on that basis, but this woman's clearly of European descent. Clearly. And I'm not just talking about appearance, because appearances can be misleading, right? I would be one of those who stands on that side of that debate. However, she wasn't claiming any connection to an indigenous tribe here. And she kept saying, our people. It was really disturbing. And everything she was saying, that was even more disturbing to me, was that, like Dane said in the video, which is the reason why he shared it and reacted to it, was information verbatim from a lot of his content. So if you guys who out here are on the fence or think that some of us is just making shit up, so to speak, think again.
Hold up. You said this was in Arizona that they were
Yes,
saying this,
yes, sir. They
and
were
this is stuff that they got from him.
yes, sir. And they were applying it to this situation. Let me tell you real quick. She was talking about property rights and explaining how her people were being sold houses that they would naturally have claim to, and that they were being taxed on it. And so if they were going to be sold the land, even though it originally allegedly belonged to their people, then why would it be taxed? Right? Because they shouldn't be taxed on land that belongs to them. And she's not talking about just in the sense of that purchase, right? So these people were being swindled, was her claim. And she was using information that Dane and his wife had been putting out for years. And even the wording of how they were telling our people to go about things legally to get back things that have been taken from our family estates. And she was talking about the estates as if those estates belonged to her people. And once again, this woman had an accent. I'm not talking about just complexion. She had an accent from Eastern Europe. And they gave her mad press. She was talking for a long time. It was utterly disturbing.
Sound like flim flam to me, bruh.
It's like, let me beat you to the punch. Or let me take a page out of your book and reframe it so it looks like my book and not yours. But there's people out here, y'all, they're putting out the truth. They're trying to tell you what's coming. They tried to tell you before what's currently happening occurred or started occurring. And Dane and Tanisha Calloway are definitely some of those people. Shout out to Sister Bethy. She's been doing the work and putting that kind of stuff out. Chief Top Cats, he's been putting out the information about our Mayan and mound building ancestors, and there's just a lot of people out here putting in the work, y'all. You just got to search for the information, and don't think it's not relevant, because if it wasn't relevant, we wouldn't be seeing what's going on.
And that's that on that.
It's been another episode of Deeper Dives Dialogue.
Oh, shoot.
With your hosts, Jay.Drewz, Handsome Mandela.
Yeah, buddy.
We appreciate you. Like, share, and subscribe. Join our locals community. Donate whatever you see fit so we can produce higher quality content and volume. Continue to get the deeper understanding of things that we're seeing in our midst. Peace, y'all.
Peace.